a very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch, a show that gives you all the latest news and updates from the digital ecosystem. I'm Priya Sheikh. Thank you very much for logging in. Time now to get you all the top news stories that we've been tracking for you this evening. Well, first up, financial services company Bharat Pay has acquired Payback India from American Express as well as ICICI Investment Strategic Fund for an undisclosed amount. Now, this acquisition of Payback India is in line with Bharat Pay's strategy to build a robust and engaged network of over 20 million small merchants by 2023. Now, Payback India was launched in 2010 and has a network of 100 plus offline and online partners. Well, moving on to the second headline of the day, Tata Digital has announced plans to acquire majority stake in digital health company 1mg. This investment in 1mg is in line with Tata Group's vision of creating a digital ecosystem which addresses the consumer needs across categories in a unified manner. E-pharmacy, e-diagnostics and teleconsultation are critical segments in this ecosystem. Recently, Tata Group acquired stake in Culfit as well as BigBasket. Well, reports suggest that auto portal Car Dekho is in talks with investors to raise a minimum of $150 million, which may give it a unicorn status. The company plans to use the resources to expand its recently launched e-commerce platform for retailing used cars. Well, moving on to the final headline of the day, US retail giant Walmart has said that it is open to an IPO for its Indian e-commerce arm Flipkart, but there is no specific timeline for the share sale. Now, both Flipkart and payment app PhonePe continue to do well, said Walmart International President and CEO Judith McKenna.
Well, a very warm welcome to this insightful panel discussion. We have a whole host of experts to talk about the travel and hospitality space. Now, before we begin, I want to take you through what really the travel and hospitality industry has gone through over the last month in terms of the kind of impact that it's seen as far as loss of business is concerned, as well as loss of jobs, which continue to be a matter of concern.
For the tourism and hospitality sector, 2021 is a year of survival and recovery. In 2020, India's hospitality and tourism sector suffered 3 quarters of economic wipeout, which was estimated to be about 15 lakh crore rupees. The Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Associations of India estimates that the Indian hotel industry has taken a hit of over 1.3 lakh crore rupees in revenue for the fiscal year 2021. The impact of COVID-19 has been seen on almost all other segments of tourism, including inbound, outbound, corporate, MICE, that is meetings, incentives, conferences and exhibitions, adventure and leisure. Recently disclosed earnings data for India's travel and hospitality service providers highlights the damage that the pandemic is wreaking on the vast sector. What's worse are the job loss figures. The Indian tourism sector is estimated to have lost about 4 to 5 crore jobs in this pandemic. To provide relief to this sector, the Reserve Bank of India unveiled a 15,000 crore rupee liquidity window to support businesses such as restaurants, travel agencies and beauty salons that are bearing the brunt of this pandemic.
Well, moving on to our second segment, I have with me a very power-packed panel, all the experts from the travel and hospitality industry. Let me give you a quick introduction of each of them. We have Vipul Prakash from MakeMyTrip. We have Deepika Rao from Ginger Hotels. We have Ankit Gupta from Oyo. Thank you very much for joining us today. I was reading some statistics about the travel and hospitality industry, and the WTCC is actually saying that $22 billion is the kind of loss that the industry has seen. That's the impact worldwide that the travel and hospitality industry has seen. And it's not only that, it's about 50 million jobs worldwide that have been affected. But here we're not going to talk about the past. We're going to be talking about the future and the road ahead for the travel and hospitality industry. I want to begin with you, Vipul. Talk to us about the scenario at this point in time. Where do we stand in terms of travel trends, in terms of is the sentiment getting better in the travel and hospitality space as we speak?
Hi, Priya. If you really ask me, I'm quite left with a feeling of deja vu today. The scenario of 10 months ago just seems to be reliving itself. And it's quite uncanny how many of the trends which we saw, maybe about August last year, if I have to be precise, are reliving themselves. The one difference of the second wave this time has been, a positive one is that travel never came to a complete standstill as it did in the first phase, where for 2 months there was nothing happening. This time, at least travel was open, flights were open, hotels were open. To that extent, the good news is that we are set to take off from a base which is better than an absolute zero of phase one. But when you look at the trends, and I think for us we have the advantage of being able to see the trends before actual transactions go up, because people come and start searching on the platform, and then obviously there's a bit of a gap between that search and booking, but those search are the early trends. And if I have to just summarize, exactly similar to what we were seeing last time, which is, for example, the first one to take off, which we are now seeing, is essential travel. So people really who want to visit their parents, people who have stuck in one place, all that is now started happening as the lockdown start easing out. As you can see, Bombay is showing signs of revival, Delhi is showing signs of revival, and slowly that thing is definitely happening. The good news is, if you really see, the first significant revival happen when leisure starts opening up, leisure travel. And for the last week, we are seeing a lot of searches happening on the platform, for leisure cities. Like, people are looking for Kashmir, people are looking for Rajasthan, people are started looking for Goa, which is obviously a big city. And therefore, I think, over the next few weeks, these searches will start culminating actual bookings. And again, the one trend, which is again, I'm sure, Ankit and Deepika are seeing it, that the first are people looking for nearby getaways and shorter breaks, looking for a 3 hour drive or a 4 hour drive, maybe for a weekend or 3, 4 days. And that is again started picking up slowly. And I think that is what we are looking at right now. And as we get into, I would say, August, September, then maybe we'll see more corporate travel and slightly longer holidays and longer hauls. So that would be a summary of what we are seeing right now.
Right, I'm going to come to corporate travel in just a bit, but Deepika, I want to understand from you in terms of your experience at Ginger Hotels, it being a brand under the IHCL group. What has been your overall, experience? Because at one point in time, hotels have been used as isolation centers for not only frontline workers but also people who are doing international travel and want to stay a couple of days and isolate. So has that been a big chunk of business? Are you seeing the shifts already now?
So I'll take off from where Vipul spoke. So a lot of mirror of first wave and second wave, like what you said in terms of segment of business as well. Again, in the second wave, we did see pandemic related business, the kind of segments that you spoke about. So they did come in through the months of, maybe you could say, from the second week of April all the way till the last week of May. But as the cases are also declining, it's a positive thing to see the need for isolation also coming down. So that's something that my own sense is June will see a shift. It will be a month of transition where, let's say, if May had a larger share of business coming from the pandemic side, that will start shifting towards some of the segments that Vipul spoke about. And that's actually your sustainable business segments going into the future. So I think June leaves us all with a lot of positivity to just see the overall situation of cases coming down will only mean that people will be more confident. And one significant difference is the vaccination. Even when we saw it in the first wave, the similar kind of travel begin, like the SME segment will start to travel, leisure will start to move. I think this time around, I'm quite positive, and actually more positive than the first wave, because of the simple fact of vaccination. And as more and more people have taken the vaccination, at least they would have taken one dose. I think that will give them a lot more confidence to step out. And for us also, as people running our establishments, for all our colleagues also vaccinated now, I think overall there is a better sense of well-being. I mean, the fact that you've taken some precaution and built your immunity, and of course to continue maintaining all the protocols. But I think that will add a fillip to the kind of travel we might see this time around.
Right, Ankit, positivity at OYO too. Are you seeing some green shoots out there in terms of pent up demand coming back, longer duration bookings coming along?
So, Priya, let me break this into two parts. We are cautiously optimistic. It's what I would say, given how the industry has moved over the past year. Um, we saw green shoots of recovery late 2020, early 2021. And in that, domestic tourism, for example, went up, leisure travel went up, and we saw overall the market moving upwards quite positively. Obviously, the wave two has hit us quite badly again. But going forward, two things that we believe very strongly will help pick up the demand. One is a product and technology focus both for hoteliers as well as customers to just improve the ease of experience across the value chain. And we are investing heavily in that because we're seeing that the insights we're able to pick up from all the customer experience challenges on technology solutioning are unlocking various pockets of pent-up demand. The second is, vaccination. So again, like has been said, on vaccination, we are quite bullish. We've in fact launched a technology-based product on our app for our consumers, where we have properties whose staff has been vaccinated. We've branded them as Vaccinate. In the US and UK, if you see the trend, which I think will play out in India as well, our RevPARs, which are revenue per room, has seen a jump from between Jan and April of 60% in the US and about 70% in the UK, which is a very high correlation of the vaccination happening in those countries. But both of them, the US is now almost 50% vaccinated first dose. So vaccines playing out will be a big boost to the sector in our view going forward.
Right now, Vipul, I want to come to you to understand the kind of traction within the segments that are available on your platform. Now, summer has been a very important part of the year specifically for travel booking portals. And this time around, we've had a washout summer, considering that no bookings could happen. So within your platform, where do you see the recovery coming? Within which segments do you see the recovery coming? And when you look at bookings for Diwali and Christmas, do you see green shoots out there as well?
So I'll start with the last question first. And Priya, the answer unfortunately is no till now. Okay. See, one of the other trends we always see is that when the pandemic hits and all those things, most of the bookings are for the immediate future, what we call the low advance purchase, So just to give you an understanding, if normally 30% of the bookings happen for within the next week, the number goes up to 70% during this time. And while the trend is reversing a little bit, we are not seeing many bookings for, let's say, 60 days from now or on. It will happen, but I think it's going to take some more time before people really feel comfortable that, yes, I can book my next holidays and all. And I think, and I think there also, we as a travel, fraternity also have a role to play. This is the time really to, really put the consumer back at the center, and, things like how to offer them flexible bookings. Yes, we can think about our own thing of, how do we look at our profitability and all, but this is the time to really think about the poor consumer who has gone through a harrowing time, over the last so many months. And therefore, if we want to encourage longer AP, sort of bookings and all, how can we give them the flexibility that they can cancel, they can change dates, etc.? Because everybody's the more we can give them these flexibilities, the faster they will start booking. And we know there is a massive pent-up demand where people want to go out. But you know what? There is a bit of an uncertainty. So I think main leisure 10-day, 12-day trips will not happen till December. People will take weekend travel, small, short trips and all. And that is we saw last time also for leisure. And that should happen. I mean, if I were to take a guess, I think starting August, that will start happening. People will start going out. Actually, we can already see bookings happening for the last week of June and July as well. But when it comes to a concerted holiday with family, I would say, from the festive season and the, New Year break is when I think will be the first time when we'll see those sort of leisure bookings coming back. The other interesting thing this time will also be, Priya, that, for example, the wave one, as Ankit very briefly mentioned, it was all about only domestic travel, okay, because the borders were closed, except for Maldives and, Dubai, really. I think the other interesting thing this time will happen is starting August, September, countries will start opening up. They've already started opening up. They were still a bit reluctant to take it, people from India because of the cases situation. But as that gets into 10,000, 20,000, a lot of destinations who are depending on tourism are also looking to welcome, Indians back. So therefore, this time, actually, the recovery might be dual. While domestic travel will continue to flourish, as we really hope so, but this time it will also be peppered with an increase in international travel. And if we look at the two together, then that bodes slightly more encouraging sign for the sector.
This ties in with actually corporate travel, considering that a lot of international travel is also corporate travel. And Deepika, I want to bring you in here when you talk about corporate travel and corporate bookings that are coming in on at your hotels. What has been the trend out there? Have you seen a declining trend across the board? Any green shoots out there? And also with regards to these big conferences that happen at hotels, what has been the impact out there? Because everything seems to be virtual, like this panel discussion that we're doing today.
Right, yeah. No, so corporate, I think you asked three parts to it. So yes, corporate travel has declined when you compare it to the pre-pandemic period for sure. The degree of contraction varies by the nature of industry. So what I think played out in wave one and also what we've seen in the past 2-3 months has been, it's more of the companies that I would slot in manufacturing as well as projects and infra. So I think these are the sectors which have more share of room nights that they're producing in hotels compared to the services industry. So say companies that belong to IT, ITES, financial services. So they have traveled less all through the first wave and also now in the second wave. And we're seeing a larger share of these other kind of companies that I mentioned. I think it has to do with basically how their work can get done, right? The services nature of their work is such that I guess it is supported by remote working. But manufacturing, also a lot of FMCG companies have seen their colleagues travel. And this time what we're seeing differently is that, they are looking at what we call as business continuity, in the sense to keep people in a kind of a safe bio bubble kind of environment, and in a controlled environment, move them to the factory and back. So those are the kind of requests that have come up, especially during the pandemic time. And I expect, especially where we have our properties in and around manufacturing hubs, that's going to be something that will continue. And also another key sector that I must mention is also shipping. So there is also a lot of, when people have to go on to a site, and when they come off from a site, there is a period they'd like to keep them. So overall, this is a kind of corporate travel from the larger players that we're seeing. But the other one, which I mentioned a little earlier, is as the restrictions start coming off. Like I think this week marks the beginning, really, with significant cities like Bombay, Delhi, and maybe even parts of Gujarat as well. I think by around mid-June, I mean, we'll have to wait till then. It's just probably this is day zero of really unlock that's happening. But I think by around June 15th, we're going to see a lot more SME movement, like people, traders or small enterprises that actually need to go and physically conduct their business. So those are the two natures of travel for the purpose of business that some part is already happening, and then the SMEs will also start coming back. Then the third thing that you mentioned about conferences, no, I mean, I don't see that a physical conference in large numbers. I think that's still some time away. I think it's not just vaccination is one part, but I think organizations have this time around in the second wave have really dealt with severe concerns on employee well-being. So I don't see them, gathering everybody together in one location, making them travel or keeping them in one room for extended lengths of time for a full day or so. So I think keeping employee well-being, just like I think Vipul mentioned about the customer. So if you, from a corporate travel perspective, the employee is going to be significant. So I don't see big conferences as such for some time now, at least.
Right. Ankit, at OYO, you also have products which aid co-working as well as co-living. So what's been your experience out there in terms of co-working spaces? Are you seeing less attraction out there, considering that it's still an environment where you have people from very varied backgrounds working together? So do you expect co-working spaces to perhaps see a shrinkage in terms of the kind of acceptance and the kind of people coming visiting?
So, our co-working model is So the demand definitely has gone down in terms of customers coming to our properties given the lockdowns. But touch wood, what we've seen is our churn has been very little over the past 1.5 months of this wave two. So customers have continued being with us. Our partners have continued being with us. And the entire focus that we've had, Priya, is both in co-working as well as our main business on the hotel side, is to continue to use this downtime to invest a lot in product and technology. I mean, just to give you a bit of a overview, the transformation from in terms of our business model to lead with product and technology, both for our consumers and our partners, has gone up manifold. And even our value proposition is one where we provide a larger scale of small-time hotels and homes, exclusive revenue improvement, and our aim is to provide a fantastic customer experience through the value chain. So just to give you a few proof points, for example, today the OS app that we have for our partners, 96% of our partners use that to check for bookings and check for in-stay guests and so on, which is a big departure from the traditional system-based engagement at the hotel that used to happen to now a smartphone-based cloud operating system. This is something that we are applying across all our portfolio businesses. Right? Similarly, I would say even on the consumer front, we have a product now which is called as Oreo, which is Oyo Refund Engine. Earlier, from 10 days of refund, we've now gone down to 4 hours of refund, and handling time of our in-house call center team has gone down by 70% as well. So we are investing significantly in technology and product during this time, so that when the demand comes back in any of our sectors, we are able to capitalize that by providing a much better customer experience and partner experience.
Right. Vipul, I want to talk to you about innovation, and you briefly spoke about it in your previous answer. I want to understand in terms of the kind of trends that we've been seeing over the last couple of months, how would you apply these trends to innovate further on the platform, considering that people are now also looking at working from different locations for a longer period of time? So are there certain features or product innovations that you are looking at introducing on MakeMyTrip, considering that you have noted the kind of trends over the last couple of months with reference to the pandemic?
So I, two things and two basic buckets come straight to mind, Priya. And one is solving the customer problems of uncertainty. And second is new use cases. And I'll give you some examples of both of them. I think the number one thing, as I was referring to earlier, is the consumers want to travel. It's just there is a little bit of doubt in them, will things change, etc. So the more all of us as a fraternity can give them the assurance that we have products, innovative products, which take care of that. Let me give you a small example without a sales pitch. We have just introduced on our flights product something called price lock. That if you go and you like a flight and you like the price, you're not ready to book right now, but you believe that the prices will go up because now then what you can actually do is pay a small fee and actually hold that price for a period of time. Okay. And in the meantime, you can go and talk to your friends and family, etc. Make up your mind, come back to the platform, within 72 hours or maybe a week. And then, you can book the ticket, and actually whatever fees you paid will also be adjusted against that. Now, it's a small product, but it has seen some great results in the beginning. Just because it just takes away that whole thing of pain that I'll go and check something, and by the time I make up my mind, the fares would have gone up, for example. Similarly, we are really, and I think, hoteliers and hotel partners like Deepika and actually Ankit have been very, very, very forthcoming in giving very good cancellation policies, to people. So, because nobody knows what is going to happen 2 months from now. So today, more than 90% of, hotels, etc. today on our platform, you can book, which you can actually get your refund back tomorrow in case your plans change because of whatever reasons. So that is one thing, just giving more innovative products to give the person, the consumers, the confidence to book. And we are there to take care of you in case things do change a little bit, for you. The second is new use cases, to what you rightly said. We saw this big trend of work, we can call it, workation or whatever we would like to do. So for example, a lot of, because we being a platform, can just encourage our partners to give these offers to the customer. So longer stays, for example, week long stays, 10 long stays. We introduced just a thing called that, if you want to stay at least 7 days, then you'll get maybe a 10% discount, thing. Now, those sort of things are again catching up because, somebody who was planning to go for 4 days now says, oh, you know what, I might as well stay there for a week because I can anyway work from there. Okay. Encouraging our hotel partners to really improve infrastructure in things like Wi-Fi and all, especially in slightly remoter locations, because those have, become the absolute must-dos if you need to get people to travel today. And we can already see that, how these things do give that final fillip for a customer to travel. I think over the next 6 to 12 months, all of us just need to do much more of this to just, get the world moving again.
Right, at this point, I want to bring both Deepika and Ankit in on this question with regards to expansion and consolidation. Now, while we are seeing a lot of smaller hotels that have been up for sale, considering that they have not been able to survive this pandemic, according to you and two very big players in this space, are you looking at, further consolidation in the sense that will you be looking at more opportunities or to strengthen your portfolio as is, or will you be looking at a shopping spree where you have more properties available at cheaper prices? Is this a good time to do that and plan for the future? Deepika, I want to begin with you.
Right. So right now, we continue with our expansion focus because this is quite a significant hit the industry is taking, but this too shall pass. It will be behind us, and I think it's amazing that our scientific community got a vaccine out so fast. So they've done majority of the work for us. I think we have to, our own view is very much long term. We continue to be focused on expansion, and actually both in FY20 as well as FY21, Ginger actually did the highest signings in some of the larger chains across all segments, whether luxury, upscale, upper upscale, budget or economy. So I don't think we're taking our eye off that, and we're quite happy that investors are still looking at the space and hotels. And I think for the entire, all brands that operate in the economy and mid-scale segment, especially so, I think the interest will only grow. Simply because, the ticket size of the investment is a lot lower than building out a luxury hotel or an upper upscale hotel. So given that the investment is a bit much lower, as well as it's a very highly efficient model in terms of the built-up area per key, therefore the return profile is highly attractive when you position it against the other brands in the higher segments. So overall, I think all brands operating in this space will definitely see investor interest not wane away. It will be there. So we continue to be focused on that, and our colleagues in the development team are still in active discussions that are underway. So yeah, I don't see that from our side as a focus diminishing. You also mentioned that are there properties up for a sale or some kind of consolidation. So what we're seeing is what many people have spoken about earlier as well, that properties that were earlier like standalone hotels, they are looking to be affiliated with a chain. So queries around chain affiliation have definitely significantly gone up. That's something we're experiencing for whatever be the nature of arrangement, whether they're looking at it as a franchise, a management contract, or an operating lease. I think especially more so with the second wave, I think the whole country was caught a little bit by surprise with the intensity of the second wave, right? I mean, we thought it was fairly under control and behind us. So I think the second wave has brought around a lot more people who think that, they'd like to keep this under professional management and be affiliated with a chain. So on that front, we're seeing a lot of queries. And it's interesting that based on the particular owner's investment objective, it ranges from offering it on an operating lease to even a franchise. So the whole spectrum of nature of contracts are there on the table. So I think there you might see a lot more of the unbranded inventory operated by single families, etc., getting added on to the branded hotel inventory, which is good because as a country, we just have about 140,000 odd rooms under the branded chains, so pan-India chains. So it'll be good to see that segment grow.
Yeah. So, our view is brands, hotels with the following characteristics are likely to succeed more than the others. One, a very solid, deep understanding and an execution pattern of revival trends. Because the one thing we've noticed over the past year is that there are customer as well as hotel side trends that keep evolving almost every 3 to 6 weeks. So there is no one trend that has continued as a trend for the long term, and agility is key. So that's, I think, one characteristic. The second big characteristic, like I said, is at least our strong belief is anything which is more technology and product focused in solving customer and partner requirements will definitely have an upper hand. The third is a huge obsession towards improving customer experience at each step of the value chain, whether it is at time of search, discovery, booking, stay, post stay. The fourth one is innovation. Just keeping an eye out and continuously innovating your business model to keep ahead of the industry are a few. I mean, these are a few of the characteristics that we are at least invested behind.
Right, I'm going to come to closing comments from all of the entire panel. I want to begin by asking you, what else can the government do to revive the travel and tourism sector? Are there specific things that you have in mind that will aid the sector? Maybe one point from each of you, the top point on each of your minds. I know there are many points that you have, but maybe one top priority that you think that the government should recognize at this point. Vipul?
No, first of all, I would like to say that I don't think the government is short of ideas of what to do. It just needs to be done. But having said that, I'll take you on your offer. I think the next, one thing the government can definitely do is think of some incentives for domestic travel. I think that's the one thing which will get people, just over the fence. So, whether what it is, last time the government took away and said that you can actually use your leave travel money for buying things online. Maybe this is the time to say that you can do something else and, we'll give you credit if you travel.
Yeah, I think the supply is all there. We need demand side push. Supply is not a problem. There's enough supply. So I think what I read this morning was very good, Priya, that to prioritize the hotels and restaurant sectors as essential workers, they should have been done probably around January or February, because then we would not have to experience this long period of lock, unlock, and with restrictions. So this has been something we've been asking, that the hotel sector and restaurants, both are high contact service industries. So to get them categorized as essential or frontline workers and prioritize their vaccination, I think would just give a lot more comfort to customers choosing to make that decision. That they're coming into an environment which probably is more secure than going to a supermarket, really. Like if the whole hotel is vaccinated and high levels of hygiene that all hotel companies are following, you're probably safer spending that weekend in a hotel than doing high street shopping or anything else. So I think if we could classify all hotel employees and all standalone restaurant employees as essential workers and vaccinate them, that would be great. If the government could do that.
I agree with Vipul. I don't think the government is short of any ideas, but I'll take up your offer and I'll actually mention three very quickly rather than Priya. In my view, those three are vaccination, vaccination, vaccination. If you're able to get that done quickly pan India, I think the industry will automatically see a huge boost.
Well, on that note, many thanks for joining us on this very insightful panel discussion. Thank you so much, panelists, for making the time. I'm sure that the audience has a lot of takeaways from this panel, and they will be wanting to travel very soon to different destinations. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, time now to wrap up this edition of the Daily Dispatch. I'll catch you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Goodbye and stay safe.